What's up, everybody? Today's video is how the Gegenpress changed football. My name is Greg, an American living abroad in Spain, learning the beautiful game of football, one question at a time, with your help. And today's video is brought to you by Football Meta. Awesome channel, everybody knows about them. I will include a link in the description so you can go and show him some love. I'm sure he would appreciate that. So I'm playing Football Manager right now, and I'm playing with Borussia Dortmund. We are using the Gegenpress system. So Marcel, who recommended this through Discord, he has been helping me with the FM Manager, and he thought it'd be pretty, interesting for us to take a look at the Gegenpress here and see how it's changed football and some of the ins and outs of it. So before we get going here, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and like the video. If you only did one of those, liking the video would be awesome, but you can do both. I mean, why not? It won't hurt you. Okay, everybody ready? I'm ready. Let's go.
Counterpressing is by no means a new tactic, and its origin can be traced back to the 1960s. But it was Jurgen Klopp's Borussia Dortmund that put the word gegenpressing, or counterpressing in English, into the vocabulary of nearly every football fan. And it is now a defining tactic at the center of so many elite managers around the world. The core idea is simple: win the ball back immediately after losing it. But to understand exactly what this means and why it's so important, we first need to understand the different phases of football, and why the Gegenpress is so easily confused with something else. Generally speaking, in football there are four phases: an attacking phase, a defensive phase, and then there are transitions from one to the other. Known as offensive transitions when your team regains the ball.
Yeah, and that's super interesting. I had a revelation that how I just related it to football. How I related that football, those four philosophies, to basketball, because you have an offensive system, a defensive system, which is what you play in the half court, or you might press full court, and then you have transition. You have offensive transition when you're running a fast break, and you have a defensive transition when you're trying to defend the fast break. So, I don't know. For me, in my brain, it just helps.
And defensive transitions when your team loses the ball. All these phases can be broken down into smaller and smaller chunks. But when talking about the Gegenpress, we are only concerned about this one phase, the defensive transition. Everything that happens outside of this specific moment in football is not a Gegenpress. The high press is not a Gegenpress, and a counterattack isn't one either. There may be similarities in the movement and positioning of the players, but it's only these few seconds after your team loses the ball where the Gegenpress can occur.
I didn't know that. I don't know what I thought, but I didn't know that. That makes total sense. So right there, that's when they press the ball. As soon as they lose transition, that's the only time that you're using the press. Okay.
Few seconds after your team loses the ball where the Gegenpress can occur. During a defensive transition, a team usually has two options. They can concede possession and try and reform their defensive shape to protect the goal, or they can counterpress and attempt to win the ball back quickly. Put simply, every Gegenpress is a defensive transition, but not all defensive transitions are a Gegenpress.
Right.
The whole idea of the counterpress is based on reducing this transitional period to as few seconds as possible. Transitions are in nature the most chaotic moments during a game of football, so controlling this chaos can give teams huge advantages. Guardiola instructs his players to 6 seconds of fire, to encapsulate the aggression and intensity that is needed in this brief moment to force the opposition to give up possession. Once your team does regain the ball, the counterpress is over, and the team moves into a different phase of the game. Either a possession phase where they can choose to consolidate the ball and create a structured attack, or to instantly create a counterattack by playing it forward.
So that's interesting. So I wonder what happens if they don't win the ball back within those 6 seconds. Then I wonder, well, obviously that was just Guardiola's system, but I wonder if they drop back and just, play their defensive system. Anybody know?
Create a structured attack, or to instantly create a counterattack by playing it forward, which is what made Jurgen Klopp's philosophy so devastating, converting a defensive transition into an attack in the blink of an eye. So it's a principle that revolves around the idea of controlling these small chaotic moments in football. But given that a transition will last at most 10 seconds, why is this such an important part of the game? The whole danger of the counterpress stems from the fact that the instant you lose the ball, you'll most likely have a lot of players in an advanced position on the pitch.
Yeah, you'll have a lot of players in advanced position and the other team is not ready to defend you because they're not organized. So you got to try and attack as soon as possible, which in basketball, that's, one of the benefits of the fast break, which is why every coach teaches the defense to just sprint back. If they're playing only in the half court, if they're playing a half court defense, if they're playing a full court press, then they will usually not going to press on a missed basket, be a made basket. Anyway, sorry, I'm just rambling on here. But
positioned in a way, most likely have
similar.
A lot of players in an advanced position on the pitch. Positioned in a way to exploit gaps in the opposition's defense. On the other hand, when the opposition gains control of the ball, their players are still not correctly positioned to instantly create an attack. They likely won't have any width, and there won't be many players on the defensive line. And the player who has the ball won't have had time to properly assess the situation. And they can easily be forced into giving the ball back to you. So, in principle, if you can quickly win the ball back just as the opposition is starting to expand their shape, it means you're only one pass away from a goal-scoring opportunity. Furthermore, the Gegenpress is just as much a psychological principle as it is tactical. And by not giving the opposition time on the ball, you can make it feel like you're dominating the game even when you don't have much possession. And it can very quickly wear down the opposition. Now, depending on the team and the manager, a well-executed Gegenpress can take on many different forms. But there are, however, three crucial elements that need to be considered. And if just one of these is missing, the downsides of this tactic are very easily exposed. The first critical point is to assess the situation. Say a team have played a long ball into the winger who loses the ball as he tries to dribble past the fullback. In a situation like this, the player has no support around him. The opposition have more players in close proximity, and there are plenty of options to move away from the pressure. So this winger would essentially be caught in the middle of all these passes and simply waste energy. If the team is on the full attack with lots of players near the ball, then this is already a much better scenario to attempt a counterpress. It's a very physically demanding tactic, so choosing the right moment to use it is essential. Liverpool struggled under Klopp a few seasons ago, with their aging midfield being caught out countless times as they were too slow to close down the options in midfield, continuously exposing the defensive line to fast counter.
I think this is one of the things, I don't know if this is true, but I feel like when I watched Chelsea play, that Caicedo was, actually maybe it was just the compilation video that I watched of him. Like, he was fast and he would close on that press quickly. So it probably was a more effective press. I don't know. Is that correct? Am I just totally wrong on that? And the other thing, I wonder, how do you break the press? I wonder how that works. In basketball, you try and get somebody in the middle of the court. That's one way to break the press, or even to break a zone or something like that. You try and get the ball. That's probably the fastest way to pass the ball to the middle of the court. So let's keep watching, shall we?
Options in midfield, continuously exposing the defensive line to fast counterattacks. Now, in order to get the players close together, then the second point is the team's rest defense structure. The rest defense is the defensive phase of any attacking move. Essentially how the defensive line is positioned in order to stop the opposition if they lose the ball. It's something that is quite difficult to observe directly when watching a match on TV, as it's usually what you're not seeing in this part of the match here. The positioning of these defenders needs to be precise. Too high and you could get caught in behind. Too low and a ball between the lines can be just as dangerous. And is one of the biggest mistakes you see teams make when attempting to counterpress. Man United under Ten Hag were consistently getting caught in this space between the lines, as the front set of players would push forward, but the defensive line already started running back, leaving huge gaps for the opposition to control the ball. Common rest defense patterns will usually rely on a +1 numerical advantage. In this case, if the opposition has 2 strikers, you'd have 2 defenders with 1 player shadow marking the players up top and patrolling this space between the lines. A well-executed counterpress will very frequently lead to the opposition playing a long ball over the top, and so it's important that this pass gets intercepted to keep the pressure high. Take for example this clip from Barcelona's 4-0 win over Real Madrid, regaining possession by having a midfielder intercept any of these passes through the center, with the 2 players up top being closely marked by the center backs. Once your defense is correctly positioned and you have players in close proximity, then the third core element is forcing the mistake. Here is where we can see the personal touch from different managers. Guardiola will often look to close off any options for the player on the ball by shadow marking the players in close proximity.
Oh, that's good. So they're denying the pass. So there's nowhere for him to pass, really, unless he passes over the top.
While more aggressive German managers like Hansi Flick, Tuchel or Nagelsmann will try and rush the player on the ball with more than 1 player to panic them into a mistake. But regardless of how you do this, the idea is to rush this player into giving you back the ball. Now, because the counterpress has become...
So that's interesting. So right there, would they have... Let me see. Would you have... Oh, well, that would be a defensive, like a wing back, I think, is that person that they're trying to get the ball from. I guess that would be a wing back maybe, or fullback or something like that. So probably one way to break it is to have somebody there who's really good with maybe passing or really good with the ball and ball control. I don't know, maybe.
Here is to rush this player into giving you back the ball. Now, because the counterpress has become such a common tactic, it's no longer the surprising move it was just a few years ago, and teams are getting better at exploiting this specific tactic. Some teams like Antonio...
Oh, cool. Okay. This is what I was waiting for. All right, let's see what they do.
This specific tactic.
Okay.
Some teams like Antonio Conte's Napoli are heavily reliant on counterattacks and will keep 2 players up top and quite far away from the ball, forcing the defending team to leave a lot of space between the lines. If they regain the ball, then even without looking, they will try and play the ball into this space between the lines.
Oh, okay, cool. So spacing. You got to create spacing so you have more room to get the ball and you stretch out the defense.
If they regain the ball, then even without looking, they will try and play the ball into this space between the lines.
That's just like basketball. I mean, yeah, I don't mean to keep pausing it, but there's principles in basketball that are very similar to this. I'll say that.
As mentioned earlier, a key component of the Gegenpress is that it requires a lot of players working together in close proximity. But this does leave a lot of space on the opposite side of the pitch that can be exploited. Teams have found it easier to get the keeper involved quickly to gain a man advantage, freeing up an outfield player that then has space to push forward. And obviously having press-resistant players is also going to be a huge help as well. But what tactic do you think will dominate the next few years of football? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, that is a great question. What tactics do you think is going to dominate football? And I see now how I was saying in basketball, you try and get the ball to the center. It looks like to break this press, you try and get the ball to the opposite side, whether by a pass, like a skip pass, or you're passing over everybody, or via the goalkeeper who gets the ball, swings it, and then you have that side of the field open. So that's super interesting, man. I love this tactics and all the X's and O's. I really love it, especially when I can kind of halfway understand it. If you have any tactics that you like, go ahead and put those in the comments. Do like the video, that would be awesome. Thanks for stopping by, and we will see you on the next video. Peace.